Hello, everyone. I am really excited to be here for so many different reasons. First of all, today is my birthday, and so, thank you. But I'm so excited to have been invited to come speak at this event because it gave me a really great excuse to come visit Australia with my husband. We've been touring around Sydney for the past few days. And we, as you can see, went to the Opera House. I don't know if any of you have been to the Opera House recently, but they actually take your photo in front of a green screen. So now we have these very authentic and not photoshopped pictures of us and many different Opera House poses, not Opera House poses, but Opera House locations. But I'm not here to talk to you about my vacation. I'm, of course, here to talk to you about customer experience, one of my very, very favorite topics. I am the co-author of a book called Outside In, The Power of Putting Customers at the Center of Your Business. I did check. You can get the Kindle version on the Australian version of Amazon. And I also now run my own consulting firm. Not very original name. It's called Kerry Bodine and Company. And I have one person who makes up the and company part of that. But I really do love customer experience. I really eat and breathe and sleep this stuff. It's really in my blood. But what's interesting to me is that even at a conference like this, when we've all come together to talk about customer experience, we often still haven't quite gelled, I think just because of how nascent this field is, on what the real definition of customer experience is. So I wanted to just set the stage by sharing with you my definition of customer experience. So I define customer experience as customers' thoughts, emotions, and perceptions about their interactions with an organization. And I probably should have changed that to an S, but I did not. So it's really, though, it's not about what we're doing internally. It's really about what the customers are thinking, what they're feeling, what's in their hearts, what they're really, truly experiencing. And this has been kind of new for us to talk about in the business world, right? Like, talking about emotions. This is not something that we've been comfortable doing for very long. And all of a sudden now we're trying to find out how our customers are feeling. And it's not just this kind of touchy-feely kumbaya stuff. This is real hard business. And in fact, we've got organizations like IBM doing research studies into this. So this is a research study that they did a couple of years ago called the Customer Activated Enterprise. And there's a phrase in this that says, we identified 3 key themes that will help you shape your organization's future. Again, organization with a Z, sorry about that. Open up to customer influence, pioneer digital, physical innovation, and my favorite one is last, craft engaging customer experiences. Gartner Research, who you're probably familiar with, they also did a study a couple of years ago with 200 companies, and of those companies, they found that 89% of them said that they plan to compete primarily on the basis of customer experience by 2016. And of course, here we are, and that does seem to be happening. Now, not everyone is executing on it to its full potential, but certainly we see more and more companies paying attention to this. In fact, a couple years ago when they did this study, 65% of the companies that they surveyed said that they already had the equivalent of a chief customer officer in place. And today, of course, we see chief customer officers in many, many companies, Australian companies, global companies, in really just about every industry, from utilities, financial services, healthcare. In fact, in the US, we've got this largest chain of animal hospitals, and they have a chief customer officer as well. So why do companies care so much about customer experience? Why are the top executives in organizations appointing these chief customer officers? Well, it's because we're not just talking about something that is fluffy and intangible like emotions. this really does have a significant impact on our businesses. And to give you just a glimpse of that, I'm sure you've seen that in your own organizations, but I want to share some data that I find to be pretty compelling. It comes from the American Customer Satisfaction Index. And there's a similar index in the UK, and the results that they found are very similar to that. I'm not sure if you guys have such an index here, but let me just tell you about how the one works in the US. So it's essentially a ranking of companies from the very top to the very bottom in terms of their level of, guess what, customer satisfaction, very aptly named index here. And so they go out and they ask a bunch of questions. It's actually kind of an aggregated way that they create this customer satisfaction score. But they go out and they talk to hundreds of thousands of customers and ask them about all of the big brands that most consumers in the US are going to be familiar with. And so what they did then is they took that giant list of companies and they looked at the ones that were publicly traded. And they looked at their stock prices. And they compared their stock prices to the S&P 500, of course, one of our biggest indices in the US. And so then they compared that to not just every company that's publicly traded, but really the top performing companies. So those companies that already have very satisfied customers or their customer satisfaction scores were increasing rapidly. And if you look at the score or the differences in the stock performance in 2013, what you'll see is that the S&P 500 did beat out that American Customer Satisfaction Index stock portfolio performance. And that's fine. It's not the result I would like to see, but that was in fact the data from 2013. But as it turns out, 2013 was really kind of an anomaly. I am not a financial analyst. I do not want to give you stock picks or trading advice. But from what I read and understand, it looks like there was a bunch of just kind of like junk trading that year. And it was really just kind of a weird financial anomaly. So if you look at every single year going back to the year 2000, and you look at those orange lines and those blue lines, you're going to see that that trend was reversed, and in some cases dramatically so. And the same thing with the 2 years since 2013, so 2014 and 2015. The companies that provided a great customer experience outperformed the market. Now, this is kind of an interesting chart. You can kind of get a sense for how this worked. But I want to show you one other chart that I think you're really going to like. So if you had invested $100 in the S&P 500 back in the year 2000, today, or back in 2015, it would have been worth about $137 US. So based on all of your gains, you could have maybe gone out for pizza, bought a couple beers. If you had, however, invested that same $100 in the American Customer Satisfaction Index portfolio, so invested in companies that were delivering a great customer experience, how much do you think that would be worth in 2015? It would have been worth nearly $700. That's pretty spectacular, right? This is why executives care about customer experience. They know it makes money, right? This is why I get excited. I love showing this chart. Because honestly, for me, I love getting up in the morning knowing that I am helping companies make their customers happy. But I am never, ever going to tell you that you should make every single customer happy at every turn, no matter what it costs your organization. We can't afford to do that. It would put all of us out of business. We need to look for that intersection of where we can make our customers happy and make our shareholders happy as well. And this, I think, is the key to doing that. So then the question becomes, that's the holy grail we're looking for, but are companies really living up to this potential of having all of this wild business success based on delivering a great customer experience? Well, I want to share with you a story of one company that I don't think is doing that particularly well, and that is United Airlines. Has anyone had the pleasure of flying United Airlines? I flew United over here. So they had this a big campaign, brand campaign from decades ago about flying the friendly skies. And they revamped it recently. And so they've got ads like this all over San Francisco, where I live, and all over the airports, where they put all of these different words in front of the word friendly. So nonstop friendly. And this is a picture I took in our subway station in San Francisco. Down at the bottom it says, "Our experience makes all the difference to yours." So right about the time that they launched this campaign, they sent out this email to their 1K flyers. Now the 1K flyers, despite what it sounds like, it's actually their flyers who fly 100,000 miles or more every year. And I do a lot of travel for speaking engagements like this and consulting work. And so I got this email. Let me just enlarge some of it for you. It says, "Friendly now means more than it ever did. It means being user-friendly. In other words, flyer-friendly. We're giving you an unmatched global network with more onboard product features, better technology, and of course, great customer service." So a friend of mine is also one of their 100,000-mile flyers, and she got this very same email. And that very afternoon, she boarded a flight from one side of the US to the other. And as she got onto the plane, she looked at the flight attendant and she said, I get a little bit chilly on these long flights. Is it possible for me to get a blanket? And the flight attendant said, "Oh, well, where are you sitting?" And she said, "Oh, I'm just back in 11A. And the flight attendant said, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, but we can only give blankets to people in first class." Yeah, and so she said, "Really? Because I'm a 1K flyer, and does that mean anything?" And she was like, "Well, if I give a blanket to you, I'm going to have to give a blanket to everyone." And so my friend kind of, went back to her seat. It was kind of frustrated, and she sat down, and she's one of the first people to board, so there's plenty of time before the flight takes off. And she remembers this email that she had gotten that very morning. And she got mad. And so she whipped out her cell phone, and she called the 1K hotline, and she explained the situation. And the very well-intentioned customer service rep on the other line said, "Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your phone. I want you to walk up to the front of the plane. I want you to hand it to the flight attendant." Yeah, what do you think happened? She got her blanket. She also got one very pissed off flight crew. When they came back with the drink carts, they completely ignored her, would not serve her. So, better onboard product features, great customer service? I don't think so. United made this promise to her, this very explicit promise, and they couldn't keep it, even on the same day that they made it. And it's not just these types of promises. We make lots of sweeping promises through our advertising and our marketing communications. This is for another airline in the US, Jetblue. Has anyone flown Jetblue? A couple people? Better experience? I'm not getting quite the grumbling that I got with mentioning United. Jetblue is actually, or I should say was, one of the favorite airlines in the US. This is just kind of a hodgepodge of some of their advertising. The one in the top right there says, "Someone has to stand up for tall people." The one in the bottom says, "Trays, knees, never the two shall meet." I like the one up at the very top. It's a little blurry, but it says, "Never take the R out of free," referring to the fact that they didn't have baggage check fees. And they even knew this is not a tagline, this is a promise. Well, it was a promise until they decided to add bag fees and reduce legroom. And I'm not going to go through all of these tweets, but you can imagine that this really caused a stir with their customer base. They felt betrayed because they had been made these promises by the airline. And then the airline was taking it all back. So just to hammer home how important this connection is between the promises that we make and whether or not we keep them. I'd like to do just a quick little exercise. This is not going to be difficult in any way, shape, or form. I would like everyone to just close your eyes. Nothing bad is going to happen, I promise. Close your eyes. Trust the process. I want you to imagine that you are 7 years old and that for your 8th birthday, your parents have promised to get you a kitty cat. And I just want you to picture that kitty cat in your mind. And when you have pictured the kitty cat, you are allowed to open your eyes. And now I would like to ask, show of hands, how many people pictured a kitty cat that looks something like this? So maybe different hair color, fur color, different eye color, but like a live animal? Yeah? How many people pictured something that looked like this? No one? I usually get at least 1 or 2 dog lovers in the room, people who are like really anti-cats, and that's all they want. So let's do some kitty cat math. If what you thought you were promised was the adorable, live, furry kitty cat, and what you get for your birthday is the stuffed animal, you're going to be sad, right? One sad little 8-year-old. Or maybe you're even going to be mad, right? Again, you feel like you were wronged in some way. You were promised something that you didn't get. But if what you were expecting, what you thought you were promised was the stuffed animal, and what you get is the stuffed animal, you're actually going to be pretty happy, right? Your expectations have been met. And the really important thing to recognize here is that in each case, what you actually got, your birthday present, was exactly the same. How you felt about it, your experience changed based on what you thought you were promised. And that's why customer experience is so tightly integrated with the promises that we make to our customers every single day. So, how can you help your companies keep its promises? Well, it starts with the customer journey. And I know everyone's talking about customer journeys and customer journey mapping. But I believe this is truly the transformational framework for our discipline. I think we need to really think about reshaping our organizations around our customer journeys. But in order to do that, of course, we do need to create customer journey maps. And for anyone in the audience who hasn't yet seen a customer journey map or isn't familiar with it, I want to show you just a couple of my favorite ones. This first one comes from Intuit, the tax software folks. What I didn't realize until I found this journey map actually was that they actually have a service that you can get help from a tax professional if you're not comfortable doing your taxes completely on your own. And so this is the journey of a customer going through that process. We've got our typical left to right timeline there. We've got all the different steps in the journey that this customer goes through. She's finding out about this service. She's signing up for it. She's waiting and wondering a bunch of different things before this phone call actually happens with her tax professional. She has the phone call. She waits and wonders some more. And then she finally finishes up, gets her taxes, and she e-files. But what I love about this journey map is that even if you can't see any of the detail on this slide, and I'm guessing most of you can't see any detail on this slide, you see that yellow undulating line going up for the good parts of the experience and down for the bad parts of the experience. You see it punctuated with the emoticons. And you can get a sense at a glance for that emotional journey that she is going through. I do want to enlarge just a little bit of the text here so that you can see it and get a feel for what's on this particular journey map. It says she's worried. I wonder if they got my fax. Do I need to be near my computer? I'm not sure what to expect. I wonder if the pro will phone at the exact time. Do I have everything that I need? So we start to get a sense for really what she's going through and what types of things our organization might need to do in order to make this journey better for her and more profitable for us. One more journey map I want to show you comes from the Exploratorium, which is a science museum in San Francisco. And they actually, in addition to being a science museum, like a lot of museums now, they do kind of like a nightlife thing for adults. And this is a journey map that was created by a service design firm called Adaptive Path, which has now been acquired by Capital One, one of the big financial services giants. And this journey map is a little bit different. What you actually see in the box there is the experience of actually going to the museum. And the undulating line up and down doesn't so much mean good and bad, it's just kind of a footpath through this journey. And they've punctuated the different parts of the journey with these green circles to show where the good parts are, the highlights, and the orange circles to show where the pain points are. They also, in addition to showing what's happening in the box at the museum, they're showing you all the things that happen leading up to that and all the things that happen once people leave as well. And again, that's really what makes the journey map effective, is showing not just the core of our product or service, but everything that goes around it. I have one client who likes to talk about the rock and the wrapper when you're buying a diamond ring from Tiffany's or another kind of high-end store like that. The rock is important, but oh, we love that wrapper as well. And the wrapper is really what makes up the customer experience here. Now, I think it's important to realize, even though I've just shown you a couple of pretty nicely formatted journey maps, they definitely do not start out this way. These are just a few photos from workshops that I run with my clients, and I bring in their customers so that they can build out that journey together and really get the voice of the customer and deep insights about what's really going on at each step of the way. And for any of you who are going to be in my workshop tomorrow, little plug, we are going to give you just a little bit of taste of this. We roll out big sheets of paper, we use sticky notes and stickers, and that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So I hope you'll be joining me for that. The other really important thing to notice about this journey map is something that I don't think we talk about nearly enough. And that is that this journey really comes in two parts. There is the part of the journey where we are making promises to our customers, and then there is the part of the journey where we are needing to deliver on that. And I don't think we look at the customer journey in that way. This is so important because if we don't consider that, the customer journey is disjointed. And it is disjointed because our organizations are disjointed. So a few weeks after that United email was sent out, I was on probably one of the best flights of my life, another cross-country flight for me. And I was talking to the flight attendant, who was by far the best flight attendant I had ever had the pleasure of interacting with in my entire life. And I was asking her, I'm not being sarcastic, she was amazing. I asked her, I'm like, yeah, so, because we got chatting about customer experience, she was really into it. And I said, that email that they sent out a couple weeks ago. And she was like, what email? What are you talking about? She had no idea, none of the flight staff had any idea that the marketing department had sent out these promises that then they were responsible for fulfilling. This is what happens every single day. We're not talking to each other within our organizations. We're not creating an organizational environment that is conducive to delivering the customer journey in the way that we want to. And so it's not enough just to look at the customer journey. We also need to look at the ecosystem of people and processes and technology and data and environments, physical, digital, policies, compensation policies. There's so many things that actually drive that customer experience and that customer journey from behind the scenes. And to help you understand just how complex this is, I want to tell you a story about a place that's very near and dear to my heart, Yellowstone National Park. Has anyone been to Yellowstone out in the West? Oh, good show of hands. Good world travelers. So Yellowstone is a really beautiful place, as I'm sure everyone who's been there will attest to. It is actually home to the world's third largest hot spring. I don't know if you can tell, this is actually a walkway winding at the bottom of the screen there, and those are people on it, just to give you a sense of scale there. It is also home to Old Faithful, so named because this geyser shoots up out of the earth just about every hour on the hour, and you can just about set your watch to it. I also, when I was preparing the slides for this speech, found a picture of this mountain in Yellowstone, and I also found a picture of the same mountain taken about 100 years ago. And I was pretty, in awe when I saw this, because it just doesn't look like that much has changed in 100 years. But in fact, Yellowstone is a very different place than it used to be 100 years ago. And that's because 100 years ago, it was a place where they really did not understand the ecosystem. And they didn't understand some of the key elements of the ecosystem, in particular, the wolves. So the wolves were seen as undesirable, and they were actually being systematically exterminated through both hunting and government predator control programs. And so the last of the wolves was killed off in 1926, and after that, the conditions deteriorated dramatically. So the wolves, when they were gone, they were the top of the food chain, and they were no longer keeping the next level of the food chain in check. And so the elk, who were their main prey, started to overgraze, and there was massive deforestation as they gobbled up all the little tree saplings. And then that, of course, had this cascading series of effects on both the plant and the animal life. And it was just really, really devastating for the park. The natural environment just degraded. And I know this has gotten a little bit depressing, and I apologize for bringing you down to this dark place, but this story does have a happy ending. And that's because starting in the 1940s, environmentalists, scientists, and concerned citizens started to campaign to bring the wolf back into the park. And in fact, the first of these transplants from Canada were reintroduced into the park in 1995. And just as their elimination from the park had a dramatic impact on the ecosystem, so did their reintroduction. These beautiful animals, once they were reintroduced into the park, of course, turned their eyes to the very adorable but very tasty elk. And so this is what happened. And I know this is a little bit of the sad story for the elk, but this is actually a really good story for every other part of the ecosystem. Because ecosystems have to be in balance, right? Just like our organizations. Winter is coming, yes. So, excuse me. So when the elk realized that their natural predators were back in town, they could no longer just hang out on the valley floor, grazing all day, relaxing. And so they started to retreat back up into the hills. And they started to change their eating habits. And as a result, little tree saplings that never had a chance of making it in the past started to sprout up. Trees quintupled in height. 3 key species of tree returned to the park. And they saw all of that deforestation effect reverse. Massive tree regrowth. And do you know who loved all of these new trees? The beavers. The beavers got right to work making dams, and these dams slowed the flow of the water through the park. And that created ideal breeding and living conditions for the park's aquatic animals, like the fish and the ducks. Oh, wrong ducks, these ducks. But one of the most remarkable things about this is that with all of that new tree regrowth, it reversed a lot of the erosion that had been taking place. And so along the major riverways through the park, they saw a lot more gravel and dirt accumulating, and in fact, so much earth accumulated that it actually changed the path of the major waterways. And that's kind of mind-blowing to me. You introduce a wolf into an area, and you change the path of the major waterways, the rivers. This is an incredible chain of events, and it's not something that's really obvious for us all to see. But that's really the main point here. We have so many unintended consequences of our actions and our decisions every day. And we really need to understand the complexity in our ecosystems. Because when we change a compensation policy over here, or a way we're collecting data, it can have a major impact on our customer experience over here. So this is really the visual that I want to leave you with this evening, thinking about not only the customer journey, but how you're going to align your complex ecosystems in order to deliver that journey the way that you truly intend. And I'd like you to hold that intention in your head for the rest of the 2 days that we're going to be together. And really think about, again, how you're going to change your organization in order to align with that customer journey. I hope that I have given you both some inspiration and some practical ideas about how you can deliver a better customer experience to your customers and keep the promises that you make. If anyone is undecided, I am going to put one more plug out there. Please consider joining me for the Customer Journey Mapping Workshop tomorrow. The more, the merrier. If you're not able to do that, I would love to talk with you over the next couple days. If that fails, I'm actually coming back to Australia in May. So I really hope we have a chance to get together. I also have a link here where you can download these slides if you would so like. And if you don't get a chance to take a picture of that link, now you can just ping me later and I'm happy to send it to you. So with that, I want to say thank you. Thank you for having me, and let's all have a great customer experience. Thanks.